Hello YouTubers. I finished them, got them all glued up, picked up some epoxy, and so they are complete. Both of those are now. And the pen, I don't know what I did with the pen. Actually, yeah. So this may turn into a two-part video, depending on the length. So that's why I jumped back on, just to do a recap really quick. So I may turn this into two videos rather than just the one video, again based on the length, because I really don't want to try and upload a several hour video. But yeah, so you may see these in video number 1 or video number 2. I may make the pen video a separate video, but I filmed it all at once and may just turn those into 2 videos. So if I do, then you'll see this, what you're seeing now, at the beginning of the video to tell you that I turned it into 2. Thanks, tubers. Have a good day, and keep turning. Okay, YouTubers, welcome back. It's good to see YouTubers again. I wasn't going to make another video for a while. I put on my Facebook page that I wanted another 50 subscribers, but then I had to come out here to work on a couple things. I've got to make a pen real quick, and then I need to make a couple handles. So what handles I'm making, I took these old, well, not old, but these, I don't know, little 6-in-1 screwdrivers, these here, and pulled those out. I took a piece of 3/8 inch rod, stuck it down inside the inside this metal piece that was up in here, and I heated up that 3/8 inch rod, and then as it conducted the heat, it made it warm enough that slid right out, popped out. So I've got 6 of these to make, but I got this. I got to do 2 for today, so I got 2 of them. Got a 12-inch piece of hard maple here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it into and make myself 2 of them. Probably going to end up with 4.5, 5-inch handles, and then I'm going to show you how I did the wood burning for that bowl that I showed, the bowl burning video I did. I lost that footage, so what I'll do is I'll take my torch and just show you on here, and if there's enough interest, I'll go back and actually make another video of it. But so that's my plan today. So first thing we're going to do is come over to the drill press here. I'm going to drill out the oh, I didn't tell you I was going to be making that out of herring. We're going to go back to making this, and we'll probably just do that here on this lathe, but I am not going to have you sitting right here on top of it. There. Now you can see the lathe. We'll round up this piece, give you a bird's eye view there, I guess. So I've got the centers marked. Now the next step is we've got to figure out what size hole we need here. So in order to do that, we've got to see how it's not quite round up here on this part. So we want to take it from these 2 longest points, those 2 widest points, and that's the size of our hole. So I'm going to find my calipers. There we go. Alright, just barely able to spin there, and we are at looks like we're at a 1/2 inch. Let's double check with the 1/2 inch drill bit. No, we're bigger than a 1/2. So I'm gonna have to go to our Forstner bits because I'm not using a paddle bit on the drill or on the blade. Looks like we're at 5/8 of an inch. So 5/8. Got to learn to read my calipers better, huh? So we need to drill 5/8 of an inch hole. So you guys hang tight. Oh, and I measured basically the next measurement we needed was to measure, and you got to do both sides. So if that measure that distance from there to there, from there to there, and then pop this thing off and turn it around. Oops. Turn it around. Put that back on there, and then measure from there to there. And whichever one is the longest, that's the depth of the hole you've got to drill. If you don't do that, you're going to end up with one side it'll go in and the other side it won't go all the way in, and they're not the same length. They don't stick out the same, so you got to be really careful with that. I made a mistake of that once, only once. Well, I make a lot of mistakes, but that one only once. So just be aware of that. So I'm going to grab my drill bits. Now if you're looking at that, you're saying, that's barely 4 inches, and I've got to go almost 4.5 inches. So let's set that right there. Let's get a measuring tape out so we can see for again. Let's take a second gander. I know that this is the long side, so that's the side I'm going to make sure is in, going in. So and we're going to go to the front tip of that. Oh, 3 3/4 was that length. So 3 3/4, not 4 inches. So see, it's good that I took a second measurement. I was trying to go by memory there. I'm going to double check to make sure that's the short side. Yep, 3.5 on that side. So 3 3/4 depth is what we need. Can we get that without putting an extension? No, we're going to need to put the extension on here. Here's the thing about extensions. Some of the extensions, like this one, are probably going to be too fat. I think that one's a 3/4 inch extension for thickness. No, that one's it. So that one will work. That one's a 5/8 of an inch, so we just loosen that up, put that in there, and we're good to go. So now if you didn't have an extension and you were struggling with that, you could always take, in fact I might just show you that. So say you don't have one of these. Well, we know a couple things. First, we know that the diameter of this is not the same as this. And so your Forstner bit doesn't quite reach. We'll just say it doesn't reach, but you have other bits that are longer. We'll say like the one we used to drill out the pen blank just 2 seconds ago. I'm not sure if it's the right diameter or not, but that one's definitely longer. We've got longer length. So I'll show you that. Just another way to get past that. So we got to make sure that the diameter of this steel here, which we'll double check that quick. Yeah, that drill bit's just a little too narrow, and that's a 27/64. So we go to our drill bit registry, and we'll grab a 29/64 because I think that'll be the perfect size. And that's a little big. Yeah, 29/64 is a little big. So 7/16. There we go. That's the right size. So what we'll do. No, I think I'm going to want to drill that a little big. I'm going to go to 15/16. So not a full size bigger, just 15/16. So we'll drill the first hole with the 5/8. It's just like we're going to be countersinking. Okay? So we'll drill that first hole. We'll go to the end of the drill bit, and then it's got a little point, so we're going to be able to go back in there. We'll use another brad point one. Oh look, there's one the exact same size. So we'll use the brad point one to finish up, and that way it'll line back up with that hole. Okay, so we'll just we want to drill the bigger hole first, so we do need to get this one out of here. Even though it's already set up in there, you gotta drill the bigger hole first. So we'll take that one out. We'll stick the little one in. So the big hole, or the little hole I should say, I'm going to be drilling from the headstock in. And luckily I got my bed extension on my mini lathe here, or I wouldn't have enough room to do this. We're going to drill from the headstock in, and see what I just put that indent? Maybe you can't see it. Put the center in there. There you go. Now you can see the center. We're just going to drill from that. We're going to do both sides. Center hole, center hole. So we're going to put the one point in the tailstock, drill that, then I'm going to flip it over, put that one in and drill that. We're going to drill both sides because we're doing 2 of these today, so we're not just doing one. So we'll get that in the center hole. Okay, just enough so it's on there. I need to get some eye protection on. Alright, so we're gonna, oh yeah, we gotta turn down the speed on the lathe quick. You even have to change a belt too. So, there we go. Alright. So that should be turned all the way down to 500 RPMs. Nice and slow. Then we're just going to drill it. I left my live center in there. I need my dead center, or my spur drive, that's what I need, in the tailstock end. I was like, well, we're not going to drill a hole like this. So we quickly take that out. Don't know what I was thinking there. Okay, so now we got our spur center. Put that in. We don't want this piece of wood to spin. That's the last thing we want it doing. Alright. Okay. We'll turn that on. We should only have to drill about 1 inch into this Forstner bit. Now you should be asking yourself, well, how is Mike gonna get the center on that? Well, duh, we're just gonna use the dead center. See how that just lines up so nicely? Now let's check to make sure that depth is far enough. I'm gonna test that by popping that out, putting it down the hole. Now we gotta go just a little bit farther. I didn't take any measurements with the Forstner, so I knew I was gonna be a little off. Now let's see if we got that drilled in deep enough. Drop that down the hole. There we go. Good fit. Now let's get it out and do the other side. So got that in there a little deeper than I wanted with my fingers there, so I couldn't get my fingers on it. I should have stopped pushing, but no big deal. Just had to answer the phone there, that's why I shut the video off for a minute. There we go. Pop that out, and now we'll finish the other side. Okay, so we got the one side drilled. We're going to take the spur drive out and just put the dead center. There should be enough friction to keep it from spinning with the dead center. As the dead center goes in there, should cause enough friction to keep it from spinning and allow me to drill that. And by drilling before I start making the handles, it makes it easier for me to make sure I stay center. Okay, so that's tightened down. Should be able to keep that from spinning on me. And if that still wants to spin, we can pull the tailstock up there, the tool rest up there, and now it won't spin. Even if I take a little pressure off, I still can't spin it. So tool rest is good for that. See, and then we just go in the inch we did before. Alright, that should be 1 inch. Met that mark. I should have drawn that mark all the way around so it would have been easier to see. I just drew it on one side of the drill bit. Okay, now we got 1 hole, 2 hole. Good to go. Okay. Now, this is what I was saying about not having that extension. So say you don't have an extender like I do here, you don't have a bit extender, or at least not one that's going to work for you. This is what you can do. Okay, so we take the Forstner out, and we put this, I don't remember what size it was, I think it was 15/16 drill bit, back in its place. So get in there good and tight. And we still have a center at the bottom of that hole, the original hole we drilled. So if you look in there, you can still see the center at the bottom. And that's what we're going to line up this next bit with. But first, to make sure that we go down the length we need to go down to mark our drill bit with our tape and our pencil. Now I said 3 3/4, so I'm gonna go 3 7/8 deep, which for my drill bit is right to the end of my fluting for my drill bit. So just drew my line there. Make sure I can see it when it's on. Yep, I can see my line when it's on. Now the same thing. We can use the tool rest to keep this piece of stock from turning. The first thing we want to do though is get that in there and line that up right there with that hole. You can feel it when it goes in that hole. Then you bring your tailstock up with that dead center in it. Now if you don't have a dead center, and then you're gonna need to drill just one side of this at a time, but since I'm doing 2 pieces, that's how we're doing it. Okay. Now we're set up, we'll just go in to this mark right here and we'll be good to go. A little bit of wobble there as it started out. Okay, we're to the end of the travel of my quill. Got to back it up. Back the quill up. Take that out. We'll just dump those shavings out. What's left in there anyways. Stick it back down in the hole. Move the tailstock up. We got another 1.5 inches to drill. Start out, turned until it hit the tool rest, it stopped. Okay? And then we just drill it the rest of the way. And again, if you don't have a dead center for your headstock, then you'll want to do one side at a time and use your spur center most of the time instead of being able to do it this way. Okay, I've always had this dead center. It's always been quite handy to have. It's what I use to make my pens. It's what I use to, well, make handles. I do a lot of things with it, so it's come in quite handy for me. Alright, so now we just round her up, and there should be enough friction to be able to turn that fairly good, but we're going to turn the speed up too. End up needing my face shield too, so I'm going to turn it up to 3,000 RPMs because I don't want to take all day turning that. So alright, get my belts adjusted. We've got semi-variable speed. We still have 3 speeds on the belt, and then variable speed as well. So tool rest up here. This is where having these little itty bitty tool rests just don't help when you're trying to do a full piece here. But yeah, you can always move it. So alright, and because somebody asked me why I never use a spindle roughing gouge. I thought, well, I'll use one today for you. Just a 3/4 inch spindle roughing gouge. I don't use them because I use the skew most of the time to round stuff up. It works just as well. I'm using the same position with the. Basically, I'm coming up at a 45 with the spindle roughing gouge as I would with the skew, so I didn't see a difference. But for those that asked, I will use one. Here you go. Okay, so this goes up to 4,000 RPMs, and we're probably sitting at, I don't know, just shy of that. Oh, my face shield. Okay, zoom in a little bit. Oh, and so you can see here how I have that just kind of up underneath my arm, because you can see I don't have use of that arm. So I've got it up underneath my arm here, and leave that shield on for a second. So I just put it up under that arm, and I can put it up under my elbow here, and I run it just like so. Okay, that's pretty much round, almost round. Let me mark this here. That's my 6-inch mark. I already drew that on there, a line. So I just took my spindle roughing gouge and put a little mark there so I know where it is. So I know where my 6-inch mark is going to be. Okay, we'll get this other side rounded up. Go back to watching me actually round that instead of me. Position here. There you go. And if you see this, I have it just at that same 45 I was using when I used my skew chisel. Oh, and if I'm going the other way, I just didn't want to hit the camera. This hand just actually rests on top. It actually doesn't do anything when I'm using it this way. It just kind of rests on top. And the only thing that does for me is keeps it from bouncing up if there's any vibration. Or if I get a catch, it just allows it to not bounce up as easy. Just adds a little weight to the tool is all it does. Okay? Okay. So this is actually a 1-inch piece of well, it's 1 7 or 1 3/4 inch piece of round or hard maple. It was a 3/4 inch thick or 1 3/4 inch thick stud, maple stud that I had for something, and so that's what we're using. It's kiln dried, so it's pretty dry and hard. But that's what we're using. But I can still get a really good shavings off of it if you watch here real closely. So I'm getting some fine shavings there. So still good stock to use. The other way I use my right arm is as negative pressure. So I push against it, down and against it. So not just on top, but down and against. That's some negative pressure. So if I want to control my speed, I don't want to go too fast, it helps that way. But I don't have full use of that arm, so we use it differently. But there's a lot of people interested in how I turn. Had a lot of questions about it. And so, for Eric, to explain it a little better to you, my right arm is basically if I had my wrist cocked up, is what you would be seeing, and then it would just be against the back side of my, not quite my palm, but right in that joint is where my tool sits, and so just kind of explain what's going on there. And then there was some curiosity as to what actually happened to my right arm. When I was born, I was 11.5 pounds, and I came out natural birth. And I had the nerves in my right arm severed. I'm so sorry about that. It's like Grand Central Station around here. Lots of people needing stuff from me today. Okay, so with all of that, I messed up what I was doing. Well, I didn't mess up what I was doing. I messed up the camera, so you didn't get to see what I was doing. But I finished taking that down. So then what you missed was I took a measurement on the thickness of a screwdriver handle, which came out to about 1.25 inches in thickness. So that told me that's basically what I need to take this down, because that's a fairly comfortable size for using a screwdriver. I don't think we would want to go any bigger than that, so I'll take this down to 1.25 inches, and we'll be good. I should have left that set up on there. Tighten that down. Just gonna check this other one. This other one's a little bit fatter. And we'll go with the one that thickness of the one that came with it for the fattest point. There we go. I think that'll work. Throw that back in the trash. So we'll take that down quick. Okay, now it's just a matter of shaping it up how we want it to look like, and I think I'll come in here a little bit. Catch there. Clean off a little bit more, but that's okay. Well, just like a skew. If I don't pay attention to what I'm doing and I put it at the wrong angle, I get the same catch as I do with a skew, and it'll skate across there. I think I'll taper that just a little bit. Right here. A nice little taper on there. Here's where it's just making it comfortable to fit the hand. And that's my plan here. Just get it comfortable enough to fit my hand. Even though it's not for me. Okay, and I think this is the fattest point, and I want to bring this down, like so. I should just get my detail gouge out of here. Get a better cut here. Okay, come here. Now we've got to remember that this needs to be a minimum of 4.5, because we went down 3 3/4. Well, it shouldn't be 4.5. Should be at least. I'm going to say 4.5. I'd be comfortable with 4.5. But right here we're at 4 1/4. So. I'm going to leave this one. I'm just going to shape that just a little bit better there. Okay, we'll finish shaping that and getting some of those tool marks out. I'm going to go back, shape this side, and bring them both down. So I'm going to end up with about, I don't know, 2 inches in the middle. This was just a piece of scrap wood that was 12 inches long. Longer than I needed, but that's what we had. So, okay, so I'm going to do similar where I shape this front of this. And this little detail gouge is actually pretty dang aggressive. As far as I'm concerned. Sorry, I round it over. Oh, I don't have you in the right position to see this other one. There you go. There we go. Now you can see where I'm working. Sorry about that. I round that over just now is what I did, and I'm going to come back here and shape that one up. Yeah. 1.25 inch thick feels real good in the hand. I may end up putting a flat spot on each side. I don't know. We'll see. Right now, I think that's good. I'm going to make one that looks just like that or similar to that. And then we're going to kind of contour that a little bit more. But first, we're going to take this one down to that same size. I don't know what I did with my roughing gouge, so we'll just plane it down right quick with the skew. So with the skew, I'm going to raise my tool rest just a little bit from where I work with the roughing gouge. I like to be slightly above center with the skew when I'm working. So plane this down. Drop that down a little bit for the gouge. And we'll just come in here and alright, let's bring this more of a taper down into that curve on this side. Okay, just a little more of a taper there. Okay, and then we'll want to, I don't know, put some of this in there. Okay, back over here. We've got about 4 inches, at least 4 inches there. That'll be 4.5, that'll be good. That feels good. I like that. I like that profile. And we're just going to round it off there. Okay, just cleaned up those ends to make sure they're good and clean. So I'm going to sand these quick, and then I'll come back and I'll clean up the ends. I'm going to part it off, and then I'm going to stick it on the on a dowel rod, and then just clean up the very end of it as we go here. So start with some 150. And probably just stop at 400. And it is a tool, it's not needing to be that perfect. So turn it down to some sanding speed. Okay, part them off. Alright, so I've got this little jam chuck I made for, I don't know, whatever I made it for, already in my chuck here, so we'll just round it up and make it fit. Because we're just going to sand the end of this and then put some friction on it. Okay, we didn't do anything other than bring that up just to snug it on a little bit so that it won't pop off while I'm sanding. Little shine juice. This is Captain Eddie's recipe off his website. 1/3 denatured alcohol, 1/3 shellac, and 1/3 boiled linseed oil for our shine juice here. Okay, so then we'll just get the lathe going. Just pour some on. As I like to put my epoxy just right where it starts to become square. You see how it's round over here and square over here? Put the epoxy here. And I'll probably just hit that with some sandpaper quick, just to rough it up a little. Scuffed it up a bit. Does a couple things, gets any debris off there, and then it's good to go. So I will epoxy that in place here, and then we're done. Looks like I'm out of epoxy. So we'll come back and do that another time. Well, you don't need to see me epoxy it on. So that's what we do. Slide that in there. Epoxy that in place. Put the handle in. Rotate that so it fits. There you go. Little screwdriver. There you go. 2 screwdrivers, fairly close in shape and size and everything. Look pretty good. We'll let them cure up and then we'll buff them a little bit. But they are ready to go. So, and